Alright, so far we have covered three things. We've made the cake, the paper, and the icing. So now in this video we'll cover two things. Both are relatively simple. So we'll cover how to make sprinkles for the icing, and then I'll also make a topping. Okay, so in our case we're going to make a Ferrero Rocher, so which looks like this. So we'll make a simpler version of this. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is I just want to create like a network box for these things so that you can just name them. It's easy to spot them. So I'll call this icing, and this I believe is the paper. So let's make a box for this and we'll just call it paper. Okay. And you can also color them, but we'll color them later. All right. So what I want to start off with is just to make the Ferrero. Okay, so we'll start off with a sphere, and no need to worry about the size right now. We'll scale it down later. So the first thing is I'll turn this into polygon, and I'll make it about 60, like the frequency. So it's pretty dense. The second thing is I want to distort it a little bit. So we'll just take a mountain node and just distort, like not that much. So lower the roughness, or actually keep it, and just sort of lower the height. Yeah, so something like this. Yeah, I think this should be good enough. Okay, now what I want to do is, the idea is, or basically how a Ferrero is made is it's sort of like melted chocolate, and which has like nuts in it. So you want the nuts to be seen in there, but you also want like the chocolate coating itself to sort of deform around the the small pieces. So what I can do is I can take a scatter, and we'll scatter like pieces around this, but I want it to be slightly inwards. So we'll take a peak, and I'm going to just go into negative. So it's about, yeah, a little more. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay. And now I can scatter some points on this. So about, I think these many should be good. And I can just take something simple. So we can take a box. So let's take a box. And what I want to do with the box is we'll make it slightly sort of, long like that. And I'll take a poly bevel, and I just want to round it. So we'll just hit amount to about, say that value, and just increase the divisions. Yeah, so it's sort of round like that. Yeah, so yeah, I think this is good. It's a bit like a capsule, but that's fine, and we can also just sort of scale it in like this. Yeah, okay, this is good. If we want, we can give a little bit of distortion to this also. So I can just take a mountain here. So I can take a mountain at this point, and let's try to do a subdivide. So we'll do a subdivide at 2. Yeah, and just keep it to around 0.2. So not too much, and lower the element size. Also lower the roughness a lot. So just, something like that, but maybe even lower still. Make it 0.1. Yeah, okay, this is fine. You can give it a little bit of offset. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay. So now what I can do is we have this. Let's just scale this down a little. Eventually we're going to convert everything to VDB, so it sort of, blends in a little bit better, but I'll just scale it down a fair bit. Okay. And now we want to do two things. Like we want to randomize the rotation and the scaling. So let's just take a randomize. So we'll call this as orient, and I'll take another one. I'll call this scale. And so this will be orient, and dimensions will be 4. And this will be p scale, and dimensions will be 1. So this will be around 0.7 to 1. This we can just do -1 for all three and see what we get. Okay, so just connect these two here, and then take a copy to points and let's just plug it in. We'll see what we get. Yeah, I think this is good. Let's try something else. Let's take the poly bevel and just lower it. So it has a slight bit of edges to it. That might not be a bad idea. And let's just compare it with the mountain, like how far it is. Yeah, I think this is okay. So it won't like be out too much. Let's try one more thing. Yeah, I think this is fine. Yeah, so roughly cubish. And we can also take the scatter here and lower the scale by radius, so it's a little more randomized. So now what I can do is, so I have the pieces here and I have the basic mountain or the basic sphere. So we're going to branch out. I'll convert this to VDB. So we'll do VDB from polygons for both of them. So I'll just take this and make it say 0.01. Okay, and the same thing here. So Control C, Control V. I'll bring it in here. Yeah. And then we can just do a VDB combine. So yeah, so bring this down and this comes in here and SDF union. Yeah, see, so there you go. And we can, and so if you want to push it out a little bit more, you can increase the peak. So if I make it say 0.06, so you'll get the, you'll get these to come out more, but we don't want that, right? Like it should be relatively inside. And then just take a VDB smooth. And yeah, I think this is good. But if you want it even softer, still you can go for Gaussian. I think that is better. Let's do one thing again. Let's scale this up a little bit more. Yeah, I think this is a little too much. Let's go to 0.43. Yeah, okay, this is good. Okay, and then I can just take, we'll convert it back. So take a convert VDB and we'll convert this back to polygons. Yeah, so there you go. Now here I want to do something else. For these guys, I want to take a peak and just go slightly negative. So it sort of sharpens up a little bit. So I'll go to minus 0.01. Yeah, see, so you get like slightly sharper edges. And so we can merge these two together and you'll get your basic shape. So you'll have like the, these guys like sort of slightly peeking out a little bit from there. Yeah, like not too much, but just like a little bit. Okay, but now what we want to do is we want to color it, like the color is important. Let's also try one thing. Let's try to go, slightly higher. Yeah, I think this is okay. In the convert, you can try one thing. You take the ISO value to slightly negative. So let's try minus 0.1. Okay, that's way too much. Let's try 0.001 or yeah. So what that does is it sort of pushes it in. So if you want to reveal the pieces a little bit more, you can do it this way. Maybe around 0.003. So now what I can do is I can just give it some coloring. Okay, so let's just save this and let's get the coloring back from here. So curvature and smooth. So Control C, Control V and just sort of, yeah. Yeah, actually not here. Yeah, not at this point. Like the pieces here will get just a single color, but I want the color for this one. Yeah, so let's just take this and now I can give it a color. So what we want is we want the top areas to be, more like a peanut color and then the rest should be like dark chocolate. Yeah, let's just say ramp from attribute and we'll call it curvature. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Let's try to do 0.5 and then so this will be like a, like a light brownish and then this should be a dark brown. Yeah, somewhere around there. And then the same color, like I can just bring this in. So, you can do something like this. Yeah, and then the same color, I can just, right click here and do copy parameter and then come to the peanuts, take a color node and just do paste values. So you'll get, see, you get the same color over here. Let's just modify the convert back to 0. Yeah, I think this is good. Yeah, see. So you have like a relatively decent version of it. And the great thing is it's all randomizable. So if I come to the scatter and I make changes, like if I just randomize the seed, you can get a different result. Okay, so this is the Ferrero. Okay, now let's make the sprinkles. So the sprinkles are relatively simple, right? Like that is probably the easiest thing here. So I can just take this, the icing group. And what I want to do is, actually let's take it before this, so at this point, it should be good. Okay. So when it's still on the ground. And what I can do is I can just take a group, and I just want to group the top faces. Okay, so I can take a group here and we'll call it, we'll just call it A. Like I can't think of a name right now. Okay, so just keep normals to 1 in y-axis, 0 everywhere else, and just lower this till you just have like the top faces selected. And then I can just take a scatter and we can scatter to A. Yeah, there we go. See, so you can scatter to A. And just randomize it a bit. So you can increase the number of points and turn off the relax iteration. So you just have it random. You can also maybe increase this a little bit so it spreads a little more. Okay. And what I can do is I can just take a color and you can give it random coloring. Now what you can do here is, if you don't want to take, just a random color, because you won't be able to choose, right? If you just pick up colors like these, you won't be able to choose what the colors are. I can just say random and it'll just give me random colors. But if you want to pick specific colors, then a simpler idea, or actually a slightly more complex idea, is that you generate grayscale colors, and then based on those values, you can generate additional colors. So you have control over what you want. So the simplest way to do it is you can take a wrangle, and if you say at CD, is equal to random at ptnum, this will generate random colors. Okay, but we want grayscale values. So what you can do is you make this to be 0 for the beginning. We'll cut this out. Then you take any single value out of it. So we'll say at cd.r is equal to, this. And then, so now you'll get, random in red, and then just transfer this back to cd. So at cd is equal to at cd.r. So that channel goes to all three. So you get grayscale. And then you can take a color, and what you can do is, if we say ram from attribute, and that is CD, and then you can just, give it whatever color you want. So if I want like absolute constant colors, because that's how the sprinkles are, right? Like they're like hard colors. It's not like a shading going on. So you'll have like, pink and green and blue, but they're like fixed colors. So I can just keep these to constant. Yeah, and I can just pick a couple of colors. So I can just say, about like 4 colors. And let's make it like pink. If you want to see them right now, I can just take a sphere and copy them on it. So I can just take a sphere, do copy to points, and we'll really lower the radius a lot. Yeah, and you can just take, see, there you go. So you have this. Yeah, keep it really small. And then we can adjust the scatter a little bit more. Like we can come into the group here and just sort of, lower it. Yeah, okay. And what I can do is I can probably split this up, so because this coloring is happening for the icing, right? So I just want this for the icing. So what I can do is, let me just move all of this up a little bit, because we do want to place it on top, right? So what I can do is, let me just merge these two together And then we can split the group, separately. So I'll just take a merge. Actually, hold on. There might be, okay, hold on. Let's try something else. Okay, so let's just merge them together. So I'll take a merge and, merge these two together. So when we copy 2 points, we get this. And let's create a group of this. So we'll create a group here, call it sprinkles. Yeah, let me just delete this temporarily. Yeah, so we get some space here. And then what I can do is after the copy, I can do a blast and I can get rid of the sprinkles. Okay, so the coloring here remains fine. But what we have done is we effectively moved it up, which is what we wanted. And then I can just take this and do another one, do Control C, Control V, and do non-selected and merge it back after the switch. So I can take this group here. The reason I'm merging it back is because we did this little bit of transform. So I want that to happen again. So I can just merge this and that and bring this back. So what we should get is we get the whole thing with color. So the switch that is happening won't affect the sprinkles right now. But now if we bring it back, I should have, more or less everything that we want. Okay, now let's put in the Ferrero on top because we need that. Now what we can do is I want to place this on top of the icing. So the base line that we had here, okay, like this line, I'm going to create a top group there and copy the Ferrero at that point. So let's take a group here. Let's bring this down. Take a group by range. So take a group by range and I can plug this in there. And we'll just call it T and we want to select points. End is 1 and invert range. Okay, so we made the group. Now let's copy the Ferrero, but we also need to do one more thing before we copy it is this has the P scale attribute. Okay, so the top point is actually 0. Like if you copy something on it, you won't see it. So what we want to do is let's take an attribute delete and delete the P scale. Okay, and then we'll take a copy to point. Let's take this. We'll say target point is T. We'll put it beforehand because what's going to happen is this has 120 points. So if you directly copy it, it'll try to generate 120 Ferreros and our geometry count is pretty high. Like this is almost 1 million polygons, which is just kind of insane. Let's do one thing. Let's reduce that subdivide because it's not really going to be seen that much. So yeah, hold on. That should have brought it down. Yeah, that's 580,000. Okay, that's good. Okay, and then I can just connect this here and this should be fine. There you go. Okay, so one thing we want to do before this also is we need to check the size of our object. Yeah, and make it really small. So take a transform and just scale it down to about that much. Okay. Now another thing I also want to do is it would be nice to do a boolean with this as well. Like this ball that we have, that should also naturally, if you're going to put on the icing, it should cut into the icing. So what I can do is I can take a peak. Okay, make it slightly bigger, not that much. Let's try 0.03. And then I can just take a VDB from polygon and convert this to VDB as well. Let's try 0.02. Okay. And this, VDB from polygon that we have, we're going to do a subtract. Okay. So just take, before we do the smooth. So take a VDB combine and let's just subtract these two. So I'll just come in here and we'll do SDF difference. So there you go. Okay, so it should effectively just eat into it and then plug it back into the smooth. So what you'll get is, like when you place it on top, it will actually, it will cut into this. And the rest is fine. Like if we come down here, everything else should be okay. See, so you'll get, this is fine. Like you won't see it, so it's okay. And then I can just take this copy that we have and bring it down. Okay, so let's take I'll just get a straight line down, coming down from here, like do an Alt and plug it into this merge. So what we should get is all three. Okay, hold on. Oh, okay, we might need to bring it in here. Okay. Or let's do a separate copy for this because it has to move on top, right? Like that's also the problem because we merged it at this point. So then this also has to be, placed on top. So let's do one thing. Let's just, duplicate this because that nothing else changes, right? So we just do Control C, Control V, and, let's just plug that in over here and just bring this straight down. So what should happen is, yeah, there you go. So this is on top over there. Yeah, so this is good. So now if I do a switch, or now if we just, bring it back to the cake, everything should, more or less be in place. There we go. Yeah. Maybe we should lower the peak over there, this peak that we have done. Let's make it 0.01. Yeah, so it doesn't boolean as much, Yeah, there you go. This is fine. Yeah, so if I come to the cake and I switch this, everything else should be fine. Just the icing should change. There you go. Yeah, so this is it. So this is the sprinkles and the topping. Okay, so in the next video, we'll take a look at something slightly different. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this into LOPS, which is the new look development and lighting area, and do a little bit of USD stuff and make a variant of it. So I'll explain that in the next video.